This is Rob. Rob is 65 years old and has been a chronic smoker for the last 40 years of his life. Rob has come into his pulmonologist's office today complaining of a dry cough, sometimes accompanied by phlegm, shortness of breath, wheezing, chest tightness, and fatigue.
Rob,
Yes.
we're gonna go to room 2.
Okay. Thanks.
Alright, Rob. What brings you in today?
I'm not too sure. My chest has been feeling pretty weird lately. I keep coughing and losing my breath. I'm worried and I'm always tired.
The nurse takes all her necessary precautions, checking vitals and performing the basics.
Alright. So your doctor will be in just a few minutes. Until then, just sit tight.
Hi, Rob.
Doc.
I haven't seen you in a while. How is
Yeah.
everything?
I haven't been feeling too good lately, Doc. I've been feeling very tired, and there's a lot of coughing, and there's a lot of wheezing. And sometimes when I cough, it's like really dry, but sometimes there's this yellow stuff. I don't know what's going on.
All right, Rob, I'm going to check your breathing now. So just make sure you take deep breaths for me, okay?
Okay, Doc.
Using her stethoscope, Dr. Vasquez listens to Rob's lungs.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to swing your legs up on the stool for me, okay?
Dr. Vasquez is concerned of any symptoms that could be occurring in Rob's limbs. To check, she begins observing his ankles and moves up towards his fingertips.
Well, Rob, it looks like you're beginning to show signs of edema. Edema is the general swelling in your extremities, usually the ankles, the hands, and I observed, your ankles show enlargement. Let me check the blood flow in your fingertips. Because you aren't getting enough oxygen into your lungs, you're showing signs of low oxygen levels. Because of this is the leading cause of why you probably have the bluish color in your fingertips.
English, Doc, what's going on?
So, to start with, without a CT scan, we can't be absolutely certain of what's going on. So as of right now, the nurse is going to take you over to the screening room, and we're going to get some images done.
While Rob is taken to get a chest scan, Dr. Vasquez looks over his vital signs. While nothing pops out at her, she plans on performing a pulmonary function test to check Rob's breathing capacity. As Rob returns, she sits him down.
Thank you.
Okay, Rob, before we take a look at those films, let's check out how those lungs are working.
Rob sits in an enclosed booth and breathes into a tube. This allows Dr. Vasquez to see how much air he can hold, how fast he can blow air out of his lungs, how much air stays trapped inside Rob's lungs once he exhales, and if Rob's breathing gets better after administering a medication known as albuterol.
Wow, that was a lot harder than it used to be.
Dr. Vasquez noticed that it took Rob a rather long time to exhale all the air from his lungs. After the pulmonary function test, Dr. Vasquez takes a peek at Rob's CT scan.
Well, Rob, looking at these, things aren't looking too great. Your alveoli is pretty damaged, which is why it's a lot harder for you to push out your air. This leads me to believe you have developed COPD, which is a chronic obstructive pulmonary disorder. However, many different complications fall under this broad range of disorders. Yours happens to be emphysema.
Emphysema? How could this have happened?
Are you still chain smoking those cigarettes?
No. Okay, yeah, Doc, but it's a hard habit to break.
Well, Rob, there's your problem, and your age doesn't help much either. The main cause of emphysema is tobacco smoking. However, things like exposure to indoor and outdoor pollution, industrial workforces, and secondhand smoke exposure can play a huge role. Usually patients experience symptoms between the ages of 40 and 60. Yours just happened to arrive a few years later.
How does that even affect my lungs?
Well, for one, that black tar in all those cigarettes you keep inhaling contains huge amount of toxic chemicals that your lungs cannot process. These chemicals damage your lungs over time, leading to inflammation. In order for your lungs to exchange air into oxygen for your blood supply, a special type of lung sac called an alveoli must be present and able to function normally. Alveoli are unfortunately unable to regenerate, so once alveoli are damaged, the body cannot heal or make more. Additionally, once the lungs are inflamed from the exposure of these toxins that are in the cigarette smoke, damage to one type of lung cell needed for breathing damages additional types of cells needed for breathing. Your cigarette smoking appears to have finally done enough damage to your breathing cells that has now caused permanent damage.
Gosh, I wasn't expecting this, Doc. What are my next steps?
Well, unfortunately, there isn't much we can do to cure this. However, there are some treatments the nurse will go over with you. I'm going to schedule you a checkup for next month so we can assess the progression. In the meantime, lay off those cigarettes.
Thank you, Dr. Vasquez.
No problem. I'll see you next month.
All right, Rob. So we're going to start you on a bronchodilator. You'll use that once a day, and it'll open up the bronchi in your lungs so that way you can breathe a little bit easier. It can either be an inhaler or a nebulizer. That'll be your preference. The doctor's referring you to an outpatient pulmonary rehabilitation center. And if you don't begin to help yourself, we may have to resort to corticosteroids and put you in an oxygen tank. The biggest thing to slow the progression is to cut your cigarette use, and that one's on you. Cigarette use can and will make your diagnosis much worse.
I understand. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Your prescription will be up at the front. Don't forget to set up an appointment for your rehab. And until next month, lay off the cigarettes.